Hello, I'm Lonnie Berger, author and president of Every Man a Warrior. In just 5 years, the Every Man a Warrior ministry has sold 70,000 books and touched the lives of 20,000 men in over 1,000 churches here in the U.S. and in 16 countries around the world. Every Man a Warrior is a discipleship course that helps men walk with God, succeed in life, and spiritually multiply. It tells the stories of real men dealing with real-life issues and how God has solutions. In this video, I want to talk to you about how to get started right so that you can have the most successful Every Man a Warrior group possible. But our objective is bigger than that. We want you to have a discipleship men's ministry that multiplies. A ministry that allows you to train men in your group who will go on and lead groups and disciple men on their own, causing spiritual multiplication to happen. Spiritual multiplication has been a mystery for many ministries. A pastor recently said this to me: the Great Commission of Matthew 28:18 through 20, to go make disciples who would eventually go make disciples, is in the vision statement of every church in our denomination. But none of us know how to do it. We believe Every Man a Warrior can change that. Every Man a Warrior was born out of a crisis of faith. I was trained to teach right theological truth to men, but I found that very few men were really interested in that. In 1988, I asked a group of men in my Bible study what was going on in their lives, and I got the shock of my life. The men shared how their marriages were hurting, their children weren't doing well, money was tight, work was awful, and some admitted to dabbling in porn. The crisis for me was that my Bible study did not address any of these issues. It was on that day I began to pray and ask God that He would give us a new Bible study, something practical, something that would help men succeed in life. And God wrote Every Man a Warrior in me over the next 20 years. Every Man a Warrior was launched in the fall of 2011 after 2 years of extensive field testing with more than 500 men. Now, with 5 years of experience under our belt, we are getting the following results on the issue of spiritual multiplication. When the curriculum is used correctly, many churches will get half of their men to go on and lead an Every Man a Warrior group of their own. Of those that lead a group, half of these men will go on and lead multiple groups over several years. Spiritual multiplication is happening. After 4 years of use, some churches now have more leaders available to lead groups than they have new men starting the Every Man a Warrior process. So these leaders are reaching out and starting groups in their neighborhoods, places of work, or in other churches. So let me help you get started right. Even if you have led Bible studies before, this training video will help you see some of the unique features of Every Man a Warrior so that you too can make disciples who will go on and make disciples. One of the key differences is that Every Man a Warrior is more than a Bible study. It is a leadership development curriculum. Leadership development is different than ministry to the masses. This issue is discussed in Lesson 1 of Book 1. Ministry to the masses means that you want to be all-inclusive. But leadership development is different. It has standards to follow, goals and objectives to meet. It will require commitment and dedication. Don't let this discourage you. Every Man a Warrior is one of the easiest Bible studies you may ever recruit to because it's practical. It deals with money, marriage, raising children, sex, moral purity, work, hard times, and how to make your life count as a Christian man. 90% of a man's life energy will be consumed by these practical daily life issues, and no man wants to fail in life. The key to a successful multiplying men's ministry is to help men win the battles they fight every day. Help men succeed in life. If this is the first time of using Every Man a Warrior in your church, we do not recommend that you roll it out to everyone the first year. Our most successful churches have normally selected key men that they feel have the potential to be future leaders to go through the material the first year. Depending on the size of your church, you may want to start with just 2 to 3 groups. But during that first year, these men will then experience the material and begin to understand the discipleship process. They then will become your leaders in year 2 and 3. One megachurch of 9,000 started with just 35 men the first year. 30 of these men went on to lead groups the second year. Now, 4 years later, the church has had over 1,000 men who have gone through the course. The women of the church are thrilled, and they have numerous testimonies of marriages being saved because the men have stepped up to become the spiritual leaders, husbands, and fathers that the women have longed for. Remember, this is leadership development. It is better to start smaller and go deep with a few men who will then be leaders of your discipleship men's ministry. The Every Man a Warrior course is designed to develop leaders by training them to lead. Choose one of your best men to start leading each group, and he will lead all 9 lessons of Book 1. At the end of Book 1, this leader assigns or asks for volunteers on who will lead the lessons in Book 2. In normal groups of 4 to 6 men, everyone gets to lead about 5 times. By the end of the course, each man is equipped to start and lead his own group the following year. The reason men feel qualified and trained to lead their own groups the second year is because of an important training component of the Every Man a Warrior course. It is the first page of every lesson of each book, and it's called the Leader's Guide. Hundreds of hours of field testing have gone into the Leader's Guide. Groups that don't use the Leader's Guide get lost, miss the proper use of skills, and rarely multiply or produce usable leaders. Following the Leader's Guide may be the most important element of having a successful group. Here's one of the reasons why. Men like to know what is expected, and because the Leader's Guide is printed in every book, within a few weeks, each man knows exactly what is supposed to happen during the discussion. During Book 1, the men will watch how the leader follows the Leader's Guide in directing the group. Then in Book 2 and 3, as the men take turns leading, they too will follow the Leader's Guide. With 20,000 men in more than 4,000 Every Man a Warrior groups, we have learned some things. The most successful groups have the following factors in common. First, they are groups of 4 to 7 men. If you have 8 or more, split into 2 groups. It is normal for about 15% of men to drop out of the Every Man a Warrior groups because they're not yet ready for this level of commitment. That's okay. This can be a healthy thing. The men that stay in the group have made a choice to get the training they need to become the husbands, fathers, and men God wants them to be. As one of our staff said, Every Man a Warrior was written for every man, but not every man is ready for this kind of leadership training. Sometimes men need to drop out because of a new baby, hard situation at work, or an illness in the family. Give these men grace and encourage them that maybe next year will be a better time for them to join a group. In our most effective churches, 50% of the men will eventually go through the course. Secondly, meet every week and have at least 90 minutes to discuss the lesson. Try to be done reviewing verses and sharing quiet times in the first 30 minutes. These 2 skills get started by the middle of Book 1 and continue throughout the 3 books. Learning to have a daily quiet time and memorizing key life verses that help men succeed in life are at the core of the transforming spiritual disciplines of Every Man a Warrior. These are also areas where the enemy will try and discourage you. Most men get into Every Man a Warrior because they want help in marriage, money, or raising children. But in our second year of field testing with over 500 men, 200 men gave written feedback on the course. 80% said that the thing that changed their life the most was the quiet time. For many men, in learning how to have a daily time alone with God, it was the first time they ever heard God's voice or felt His love. Others reported they knew God was giving them direction when they prayerfully made decisions. Walking with God by spending time alone with Him in the Word and prayer is an essential part of the transformation process of God making you and I into better men. Third, finish the whole lesson each week. Don't let rabbit trails or other topics consume the time. In Every Man a Warrior, we like to start on time and end on time and make the time count. The lessons in Book 2 on raising children are especially long and are designed for 2 weeks each. Fourth, follow the Leader's Guide. This is the key to getting the skills right. The Leader's Guide will have you go back and review certain skills so that you learn to do these new lifelong habits correctly. If we are going to learn a new lifelong habit that we will then pass on to our children and other men, we need to get it right. Fifth, start talking about multiplication early and often. In Book 1 and throughout the course, you'll begin to pray for other men who you know need this kind of training. But there's another issue here. According to the Learning Pyramid on page 48 of Book 1, we only retain about 50% of the material we study and discuss, but we retain 90% of what we teach. Dozens of men have told me this, how they learn just as much the second time through Every Man a Warrior as the first time. I often ask men, what grade, A, B, C, D, or F, do you want to get in the life issues of money, marriage, raising children, sex, work, hard times, and making your life count as a Christian man? Most men want to get an A. Getting to this 90% or A level means you will need to master this material. Men come to spiritual maturity when they teach other men. Spiritual truth is not fully rooted in a man until he's able to teach it to another man. Because our objective is to build disciple-making men's ministries, the Every Man a Warrior process really takes 2 years. The first year, the men go through the course, and the second year, they lead their own groups. This is how leaders are developed. Next, cover this ministry in prayer. Ask God for the right men that He wants in this study. Pray for their quiet times, that they would hear God speak to them. If you have prayer groups in your church, ask them to pray for the Warrior Men's Ministry. The first week, we recommend that you get together and watch the Every Man a Warrior story under resources and leader training videos on the webpage. Then hand out Book 1 and introduce men to the My Commitment Pledge on page 22. One of the purposes of this pledge is to make the group safe. What is said in the group stays in the group. Many men have told me how their Every Man a Warrior group was the first safe place they ever had to share what was really going on in their lives. They must sign the My Commitment Pledge before the beginning of Lesson 2 in order to stay in the group. Ask men to read through the prologue and the first lesson before the next week. About half of all Every Man a Warrior groups are done in the context of a church. They normally start in September or January. Since there are 34 weeks of lessons, it is best if you get started in early September to be done by May. But the other 50% of groups are led by men who use Every Man a Warrior in their neighborhoods, at work, or in the context of a parachurch ministry. A number of men use Every Man a Warrior one-on-one to disciple a son, son-in-law, co-worker, friend, neighbor, or someone who has recently come to Christ. There is a short introduction to Every Man a Warrior video and several testimony videos on the website to be shown to men to encourage them to check out Every Man a Warrior and join a group. There are also other training videos, radio broadcasts, and other resources on our website to help you. More than 20 prison ministries and over 2,000 incarcerated or men in post-prison ministries have now used Every Man a Warrior. Men, the Great Commission of Matthew 28, to go make disciples who then spiritually multiply, is just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. And when we properly disciple men to walk with God, love their wives, train their children, manage money, fight to stay morally pure, and disciple other men, then the ripple effect of the Great Commission in impacting our culture is huge. Whenever a man is changed by God, it normally means a wife, marriage, and several children are also transformed. I hope you will give Every Man a Warrior a try, and perhaps you too will come join the movement. Thank you.